So what need will this course fulfill for universities? Well, it'll meet the following need. The first trend to keep in mind is that universities continue to hire more adjunct faculty. As I mentioned before, there are 1 to 1.5 million adjuncts in the United States. And the ratio in relation to universities' overall full-time or tenured faculty is anywhere from 50 to 85%. That is an amazing number, and it surprised me when I was doing this research. I didn't think that adjunct faculty comprised of overall faculty to these levels. But what happens when you have a high ratio of adjunct faculty is that graduation and retention rates decline. Now, this is an interesting finding that surprised me as well. There is a gentleman, Ronald Ehrenberg, who wrote a paper in conjunction with Zhang Liang on do tenured and tenured faculty track faculty matter? And they actually do matter. And what they found is that these rates decline, but it's not because of a lack of capability or quality of person. And it's very important to make this point. Not because of a lack of capability or quality of person. It has to do with the working conditions. Many times, if not the vast majority of the time, adjuncts do not have an office and don't have office hours, so therefore cannot meet with their students to give them the appropriate attention and focus that they need. They're also assigned a class last minute with little time to prepare. With little time to prepare, the quality of your education and of your teaching probably is less optimal. There's a lack of participation with university governance. Governance is important because a lot of times universities establish certain policies that affect the adjunct, but they don't have a voice at the table. And this lack of participation impacts their working conditions. Many times, adjuncts have to drive to multiple schools, oftentimes multiple schools within the same day. When you're in the car and you have to confront with traffic, stress, being late, and so forth, it impacts your well-being, if you will, and it impacts the quality of teaching once you get to the actual university. There's excessive course load. And oftentimes, if you're not on the university governance board, then you don't have a say on what is the maximum course load that you can have. But the more courses that you have, the less focus you have on each individual course. The more courses you have, the less attention you can provide to your students in each of the individual courses. So having an excessive course load impacts actual student learning. The vast majority of first-time and existing adjunct faculty have little to no formal training on how to become a teacher. Now, this is unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable to me because I know that I don't want to pay a significant amount of money to send my children to college where 50 to 85% of the faculty are adjuncts and they're not even trained to teach. That's not an investment I feel comfortable making, even though I am going to make it very, very soon. So it's very important that adjunct faculty are trained, and trained well and trained often. And this is what this course is going to be as a first step. There's little to no job evaluations and ongoing personal development. Without job evaluations, without feedback, both positive and constructive feedback on how to improve, it's very difficult to become a better teacher. And that, of course, impacts the learning of your students. And if you're a full-time adjunct faculty, you have most likely a very low income, in many cases even below the poverty level. I'm not going to get into this controversy during this media or video course, but this does impact the quality of life, which then impacts, of course, the quality of their teaching. So all of these factors impact working conditions, which in turn impact teachers' performance, which in turn impacts student learning. So, what are the implications of these negative working conditions? High failure rates. High failure rates of first-time adjuncts and high failure rates of ongoing existing adjuncts who continue to have poor performance in the classroom. And what are the implications to the universities? Higher college dropout and lower graduation rates. We all know that this is one of the main goals in universities, and if you know that the lack of training and poor working conditions are impacting your actual graduation rates, wouldn't you consider training and improving the quality of the working conditions for your adjuncts makes sense to me. Secondly, it impacts your reputation. I know that if I was in a classroom and I was wasting my time and I wasn't learning, the word of mouth that I would have out in the community would be that this university is not a very good one. And that could just be based on 1 or 2 or 3 experiences. It may be unfair even, but it does impact perception. And we don't want to do that in universities. We also know that if you have a poor adjunct that performed poorly, not because of, again, their quality or their capabilities, but because they weren't trained, it's going to cause them to fail, probably not be given another chance, and it's going to increase the cost of recruiting because you have to find another adjunct and yet another adjunct to make up for those who have failed. So it's good to get it right the first time. And you get it right the first time, again, by improving training and working conditions. But this course is particularly focused on training. What else are the negative implications? You simply waste time and energy. Time and energy for the university, for the students especially. You have poor learning outcomes, which again is one of the major goals of any academic. Lower transfer rates from 2-year institutions to 4-year ones. This came from a study from Mr. Kevin Egan and Audrey Yeager in a paper called The Effects of Exposure to Part-Time Faculty, where they found out that the transfer rates from 2-year vocational schools or 2-year associate degree schools to 4-year schools dropped. That again hits the bottom line, and we want to overturn that by training our faculty. The last and probably most important negative impact, and what this course would fulfill, is to prevent students from losing out on optimal learning and overall quality education. It would also prevent them from wasting money, energy, and time because they are not learning from a gentleman or a lady who hasn't been adequately trained and is working in poor conditions, and it's impacting their teaching performance. So this course will meet that need for universities. It's a very significant need, and this course will be very positively in the direction that's required to avoid these negative outcomes.